Yeah. Okay, the Jentry Podcast. I know that you will be loving it. We here to break it down so that you start to understand your local government. Who are the leaders? Time to get active, do something about it. Dealing with jobs, the workforce, and affordable housing. Motivate and inspire. Elevate, take it higher. For the next generation. Knowledge is power for your community. Giving you the info that you really need. Time to make a change and a difference. Tune in, don't miss it. It's the Jentry. The Jentry Podcast. The Jentry Podcast. Making a change, switching it up.
Hello, and welcome to the Jentry Podcast today. We have an incredible guest. I'm your host, Jonathan Mason, but more importantly, we have Georgia State Representative Schofield representing District 63. And she is an amazing person. Obviously, she's amazing a public servant, but she's also a mother, a business advocate, and a health advocate. Her journey is too incredible for me to step on right now, so I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, Kim, how are you doing today?
You know what? I am in the great state of Georgia right now in Atlanta. It is sunny. I've got my bright yellow on because I believe that it is time for us to shine. During these dark days that seem to be plaguing all around us, I had to wear some bright colors and lighten it up. I had to bring the yellow to the scene. Let's bring the shine to the day today. Thank you, Jonathan, for having me. I am so excited to be here.
Likewise, and I'll share it again, even though I told you, man, I circled this one a long time ago when we first talked. I am so excited to get into your story and everything you're doing, and I appreciate you bringing the bright yellow and the shine to the podcast. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what is the secret sauce of Georgia? What makes Georgia the best place to live in the United States?
Well, number one, it's the people in Georgia. It is the atmosphere, it's the culture. I'm originally from New York, and I came down here in the 94-ish time, right the ending of Freaknik, the beginning of the Olympics. And my brother was in Clark, Atlanta. We came down here for one visit, my daughter and I. My daughter was 4 years old, and I looked at my brother and said, I'm moving here. Because not only was Atlanta known as the Black Mecca, it was a place of hospitality where people really did collaborate and partner with one another to make our businesses shine. And when I came here, it was like I had felt a rebirthing and regeneration. Being from New York and I lived in Boston, I'm a northerner to the heart. But, I learned to love sweet tea, and I can stay because I carry my sweet tea card everywhere I go. But Georgia today is a state that is on the leading edge of policy. We are changing a narrative and breaking systemic racism and barriers. We are the state that is to be watched.
I love that. And I know, and our viewers know how important Georgia is to everything that is going on, both federally and locally with places like Atlanta. So I can definitely attest to that. And I'm excited to hear more. Now, before we get into Georgia, I'd love to get into your background. Did you always know when you were a child that you wanted to serve your community? And what was that journey like for you?
Well, I think every destination leads to the journey. I'm not even at the destination. I'm just passing through in terms of where my life has taken me. My story really is a unique story. When I was in 2000, I was diagnosed with lupus. And lupus is an autoimmune disease that attacks your body. It's like waking up every day with the flu, having it on steroids. And I was moved down here working at an intermodal company for about 5 years, steady on my job. My daughter was 9 at that time. And I went to the doctor for a routine eye exam, just getting refitted for some contacts. Came out that weekend, my eyes started getting very red, and I thought it was pink eyes. I'm calling around to my friends and saying, whose child gave me pink eye? And my friends are laughing like it was none of my child, Kim. So I went back to the doctor. And the optometrist said to me, a really strange question. What was the last time you had a physical? And I said, a physical? Black people don't go to the doctor unless they're sick. So your listeners are laughing because they know that's true sometimes. And so went back to the doctor, asked me a series of questions, and then they sent me to a rheumatologist. My rheumatologist then gave me a prescription pad gave me 8 different prescriptions and a brochure that said, could you have lupus? And that was the first time I've ever heard of the word. Nobody in my family had it. I didn't know about it. And so what I did was, like most people do, you start getting on the internet, looking up things, and you find out that the life expectancy is very dim when you have lupus. And that was, again, 25 years ago. But being a woman of faith, I sat in the car and immediately the scripture came, thou shalt not die but live to declare the glory or goodness of God. So I said, all right, Lord, then it's on and popping. You're going to have to teach me how to live with lupus. And within 6 months, I lost my job. And I lost my job because they said, you don't look sick. Despite all of the medical evidence that I had that I was struggling with something and that I had a diagnosis, the stigma around this of you don't look like you have a disease was real. So not only did I lose my job, I lost my ability to earn a living. I was a single mom at that time. I also lost the ability to even provide for my child on the level of what she was used to. She was in private school. We had just bought our house 2 years. We were at a car. I lived that American dream. I voted, I paid taxes, I served in my community, I served in my church, and then I got sick. And so fast forward, I started after a period of time calling around, trying to find out, okay, who knows about this disease? What other agencies? What are the resources? I called the White House at that point and like, listen, I have lupus. Somebody has to understand this disease. What is this? And what are options are available? And I found out there were none. So what I did after 8 months was I put my story in the local newspaper and I asked anybody, if you know about lupus, if you are caregiving, please meet me. I want to learn more. And at that particular first meeting, 65 people showed up. And I knew at that point, this is a problem and nobody's saying anything about it. And so I then started a support group, and we're still together to this day in Atlanta, in Decatur. And then from that point, we were working and started aligning ourselves with the Georgia chapter of the Lupus Foundation because collaboration and partnership is everything. So started to find our voice through that. And then I did a lot of advocacy work, raising awareness about it, advocating for those who did not know where the resources were, working with state agencies and trying to get the door open so people would take this disease very seriously because it impacted at least over 50,000 Georgians at that time, and nobody was talking about it. And so after 8 years of doing a lot of advocacy in the community around the nation, I said to the support group, listen, I'm about to do something really radical. I'm about to call everybody under the Gold Dome in the Capitol and find out who knows about lupus and how do we get some appropriation and some real recognition for this disease. And I did. I called down to the state capitol. I started trying to speak with legislators. I was left on hold. I was disconnected. So I got up out of my bed and I went down there, and everybody that had a legislative tag that I saw, I went up to them and say, hi, my name is Kim. I don't know what happened. I think I was disconnected or left on hold. But anyway, I have lupus. I want to talk. And I started building relationships. And then I started going back and we started doing advocacy days and awareness days at the Capitol. And I started bringing more people. And we would talk with our legislators. We would educate them on what a life with lupus looks like and try to break down some of those stigmas. And as I was doing that work, the relationships across the aisle, whether Republican or Democrat, didn't matter at that point because everyone knew someone that had lupus. And if they didn't know anybody, they knew me. And so having built those relationships, and as we were bringing back more people, I was approached and invited to join the Emory Lupus Research Team. So check this out. I got a disease that nobody knows about. There is no cure, was no medicine at that time. Now we do have very robust medicines that help us, but we didn't have medicine at that time. I ended up being the advocacy chair for the Lupus Foundation. And then I became a lupus researcher, which I'm still with Emory University after 17 years and still moving forward. So I'm like, wow. And now in 2014, we were able to get the first bill passed to create the council, the Georgia Council on Lupus Education and Awareness, signed by the governor into law, allowing us to have appropriations and resources dedicated to help the 55,000 plus Georgians living with lupus. That was a celebration because guess what? I was just one voice in a mass choir, and I started bringing more people down and more people back, and I started talking. So it doesn't make a difference how you get in the door. It's that when you see a need that's not being addressed, that you become the person who speaks up. And then in 2017, I was actually a lot of work that I had done at the Capitol included helping pass the Family Care Act, and that allows for people to take care of a loved one and not use their paid sick leave to have to lose pay just to take someone to the doctor or care for a family member or a child. And having built those relationships, again, I'm still a constituent at that point with a voice. And so having built the relationships, and then in 2017, I was approached to run by my senator. And, I love to tell the story because I was actually sitting at the beach and my life was a really good place. And I was just very in a spirit of gratitude. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing and where I am. But I don't want to miss you. Show me what's next. 30 minutes later, I get a call from my senator asking me to run for office. And the first thing I said is like, no way, you are not thinking about me, Lord. There's no way you asking me to run for office. And usually women, especially women and Black women, have to be asked 7 times before they'll run. Now, I don't know about you or anybody that's listening, but when you ask God for something and he gives it to you or shows it, what are you going to say? No, you made a mistake? No, you got to be kidding me? Yeah, I argued back and forth, but I knew that was going to be a losing battle. So I said, Lord, well, I gave him all the reasons why I couldn't get it done. And I was telling my senators, I can't do it because of this. And she said, Kim, you're not going to have time to deal with that. You're going to be on the ballot. I said, oh, what year? She said, oh, November. That was 2017. I had 7 weeks to do something that was never done before and have a resource and a team built up. And yes, there was that element of fear and faith. But sometimes when God's got his hand on you, you got to do it afraid. And so lupus was the best thing that happened in my life, despite the good, bad, and ugly. It allowed me the opportunity to get elected as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives in the General Assembly. It allowed me to be a voice for those who did not know what lupus is. It allowed me to have resources to go across the state and to educate families and caregivers. It allowed me to travel across this nation to fight for people, not just for lupus, but that have all forms of chronic diseases that are often overlooked and underrepresented. So I say to everyone, a no is never a no. And if you open to your heart to possibilities, you never know. So life gave me lemons. I didn't sit there and make lemonade. I made lemon cookies, lemon pie, lemon cake. I made whatever the lemons could make. I added them to a couple of cocktails and said, here we go. That's how I got into this space. So currently I do serve on the health committee. I serve on small businesses for the state of Georgia, looking at all creating equity in all small businesses. Businesses, especially small businesses, are the heart of Georgia. And I want to make sure that we're protecting them and supporting them. I also work on and sit on the labor and industry committee, making sure that we have the jobs that we need, fighting for always livable wage, making sure that our policies align to what the needs of the people are. And then I serve on the Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee, and that's keeping the film tax credits here, making sure the arts are funded. I'm working on a program and a project now called Arts as Medicine, to use arts as an intervention and not just medicine and the sense of a clinical space. But let's talk about how do we take other opportunities and make them work for us. And then I serve on urban affairs. And not only is that about housing equity, it also includes agriculture. So I'm in a space where not only serving the people is not a passion, it's a commitment. That's how I got here. And so, yes, I had to learn a lot about a little about a lot of different things very quickly, but it allowed me to hear the heart of the people and to really trying to find solutions to an over oppressed system, long-standing system with historical racism, and to find out, what are the possibilities of how do we now make this work for us? And it can be done. We just have to be a little more creative, aggressive. We've got to stand up, show up, speak up, And now is our time.
I know my viewers, I think they now see why I was so excited to have you on. Your background is amazing, and my viewers have heard me say it a million times. I think it is so special when somebody is called to serve. Nothing wrong with the people that have wanted to do it their entire life, and they went to undergrad for it, got their MPA, and then and rose up the ranks. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. But I do find it is special when somebody is truly called. And to your words, not mine, you took lemons, you made lemon cookies, lemon meringue, and everything of it. And it is so special to see that you were able to take something that could have crushed a person, and rightfully so, a disease without a cure, and how impactful that can be to somebody. You took that, and the first thing you did was garner community, and I think that is what was maybe God's precursor to show you can do this, because you garner the community, and then you took action. When the calls weren't answered, you pounded pavement and went up to the state capitol to get a response. And you were able to rally around folks, and even as a constituent. And I think that is great for myself as a constituent, for all the viewers, to see that you didn't have to sit in the seat to make the change. The change came because how impactful you were outside of the seat, and they felt like they needed you, but you were already making the change. And to now being able to go in and sit on so many differentiated communities or committees, excuse me, I was just like, wow, the amount of skills that you had to accumulate so quickly. And obviously you have a great background in the private sector as well, but still taking those differentiated skill sets and putting them together. I'm nothing short of impressed, and I appreciate your story. Now, for our viewers, a lot of our viewers are young, and they're thinking about a career in public service. If you could and speak to those young people, what is a Georgia state representative, and what is the House or General Assembly? If you could just break down what that is and maybe what you do typically on.
Yes. So, and thank you for those that are called. And I love how you said, it's responding to the call. Trust me, y'all, I want to not answer that phone that day. I was at the beach. I was like, but when I had made that declaration, Lord, show me what's next. A lot of times we are called to do certain things and we don't want to answer the call because we're afraid. What if I had turned and let it go to voicemail that day? So for those that are thinking about it, planning, yes, is sometimes it is, you have to plan, but you also have to start, or it would be helpful to start where you are, bloom where you're planted, connect with those that are in service. What type of service are you trying to go and to render? How many of you on the podcast even know your state or Senate representatives? There's the federal level, there's the state, and then you go down to the local and municipal levels. The state is where the action happens because we are the ones that are passing a budget. We have to make sure that the budget is in place. That's what I'm constitutionally bound to do, is pass a budget so that the state continues to operate. And then it's about passing legislation and drafting legislation that meets the needs of your people. It's about stopping bad legislation that hurts your people. And your people are just defined as I don't take it as those who just vote for me. I look at any human being that has a system that devalues them and their humanity and diminishes their quality of life. Those are the people that I serve. I work with across the aisle, and I'll work with anybody that is about equity and fairness and justice and democracy. So my day looks like we're in session for 40 days, not 40 consecutive days. We start at the second week of January, and we usually go to the end of March in Georgia, and sometimes the beginning of April. And we come down to basically, I'm a representative, and this is how I explain it to people. And what I do is I represent an issue. So let's say you have an issue, Jonathan, you want to see change, or there's something that you want to discuss and see how we can improve. You meet me, we talk about your issue, and then I have to get 90 votes, because we need 91 people to pass a bill out of the House. We have 180 House members and 56 senators. And I have to get at least 90 people, because if you got me, then you got one person already on the team, to support your issue, to say your issue is a good issue for the state of Georgia. And then once we get it out of the House, then we got to go do the same thing in the Senate. Most people have this perception that when I elect a person, that's their job. But think about it. I represent 60,000, 62,000 people. Do you think your issue is the only issue that's on the table? I have 5 cities that I'm responsible for and that I serve. So I have a number of people that have issues. So which means that I've got to get 91 votes on every issue that's come to me to the best of my ability. You think that's a job for one person? No. The voice of the advocate, of you, the people, you that want to get in this space, that's how we move the needle. So you have to go back and do your part to bring more people to come to the committee hearings to say why this issue is important. Who does it help? Who does it hurt? How does it benefit the good of the whole? You've got to introduce and talk to people that may not look like you or even share your political views. That's what I have to do. And so this is a partnership. And we have hearings for our meetings and our committees. The problem is that in Georgia right now, Democrats are in the minority. So we don't always get a hearing on our bills. I write a lot of good bills, y'all. I mean, from housing to transportation, to mental health we do environmental justice. I do a lot of environmental health bills because in my community, I've learned things like the asphalt in my community is so much on a lower grade that emits the toxins that the average person would think, oh, it's hot outside and those toxins are coming up. No, it's because they're using a lower grade. And so my people are inhaling that as opposed to those in other areas that have a higher grade of the asphalt. Yeah, do you think everybody's going to be happy about wanting to pass a bill where everybody has equity? No, but that's why I need the voice of the community. So those that are just starting out, find out who your legislator is. To find your legislator, you just go to www.legis, that's legis, legis.com and / and then you put your state. That's how you find your legislator. And then reach out to them. We're people too. We love to hear from young people that want to be active and have a voice. And then work with us as we coach you into your destiny. I have a program that I do called Keep It Moving Junior Legislative Ambassadors, where I take students from 9th grade, and I take them all the way through college, and they follow me. And they learn how to write a bill. They pick a bill to work on a bill. They work with advocacy groups. They meet and all levels of government. They learn about lobbying. What type of lobbyists are there? And then they show up at the Capitol for crossover day, where our bills have to pass from one house to the one chamber to the other day, and then sine die the last night of session. So the exposure, there's so many opportunities. But now I've got to tell y'all the other side that we don't talk about. It is that even in the space of political violence and upheaval, this is not a one size power. Oh, I've got the power. No, this is not about power. This is not about ego. This space can be a very disruptive and distractive space for you personally. I didn't know that when I got elected, the number of threats against my life, the number of safety issues, the number of people that sometimes on the opposing team would come against you, but the ones that are right in your own colleague, in your own party, that stab you in the back for just trying to do the right thing. We have had issues where people have been stalked in their house. People, again, have been followed. You know about the shootings that have happened in the recent murders and assassinations of legislators in Minnesota. 4 days before that happened, I was with a young Black woman, 29 years old, that serves in the House of Representatives. And we were at a retreat on safe and serving. And when she got home 4 days later, she discovered she was number 4 on that hit list. So people don't tell you it's not just about you. It's about the people that you associate with. It's about your private life being open to the public. We're not looking for perfect, but I need you to know that the other side of politics is a very cautious space, and all things have to be taken into consideration. Even though we are a part-time legislator, I work 368 days. There's so much work here. I had to add three extra days, y'all. I also had to make sure that, we're only the salary for sometimes legislators, we get paid $22,000. And when I came in, we were getting paid 17,000. I've been there 8 years. In the time that it takes for the hours that I put into this work, I've calculated my salary is $4.14. Tell me, who else do you know is going to go and give up that kind of money, $4.14, to serve people that won't even go in the booth and push the button? So this is the real side. You have to take into consideration. If you're coming down there to think the space is about changing the world, you're disillusioned. You have to be able to like the nose when you've done everything that you've done to pass bills, and somebody, just because you have a DRR next to your name, because you're black or white, because you're male, female, lesbian, straight, whatever, they take your work and say, no, we're not going to help you. We're not going to do it. We don't like you. You've got to have that resilience to keep coming back. For every no, there's a yes. And my job is to find out who in that General Assembly can tell me yes to get the needs of the people that I serve met.
Thank you for giving us the candid truth about being in the legislature. It is very sad to hear that people are targeting the people that are serving them, that are serving their communities and doing it the right way. Everything you shared with us is somebody that is fighting for communities in a positive way, looking for equity, looking for collaboration across party lines. So to hear that even in that case, people are attempting to intimidate you, and people are going even further to put people on lists. I'm very sad to hear that, but I appreciate you sharing that side of it. Something that's not spoken about too often, but I know it sadly exists. But on that note, can you maybe give us an example of some collaboration across the aisle that you've partaken in that came out successful?
Yeah. I get excited when I talk about some of the works that we've done. So this session, I've had two bills that I got passed. And one of them was IVF treatment, or fertility preservation, allowing women with lupus and sickle cell to freeze their eggs. Sometimes the hardest thing when you get a chronic disease is not feeling like you're able to have children. So I wanted to make it that not only were they able to freeze their eggs, that insurance companies would pay for that. The other bill that I've worked on this session and got passed was on for the limb loss community. And that's people that have orthotics and prostheses. They were not able to get expanded coverage so that they have the limbs that they needed. So we were able to reach across the aisles to get that bill passed. I had another bill that was really simple enough, but it didn't make it this time, but I'm going to keep pushing. And it was the mugshot bill, I call it. And that is, when sometimes, Jonathan, when people get arrested and they are photographed and they have their mugshot put up, sometimes they don't even get a court date. They never get prosecuted, but yet those mugshots are still left online. And what does that do? That hurts the ability to get jobs, housing. And for some reason, we've been having a problem trying to take those mugshots down. So the bill almost made it to the floor last session. So I'm be working on that. I've got a number of environmental justice bills, looking at creating clean energy, sustainable. I'm working on removing and banning all the forever chemicals and the toxins that are hurting, that are in our clothes, that are in our air that we're breathing. I work on indoor air quality bills and improving that. I've co-signed on a number of bills for HOA, and these are the bad actors in the HOAs that have been putting liens on people's houses and taking their property. I've worked on and co-sponsored bills on rents. What is I'm looking for rent restrictions and trying to cap rents so that we can find some accessible and affordable housing. So we've got 9 bills that deal with housing. I've got 7 bills that we know are dealing with the HOAs. I've got a number of bills for healthcare. So working across the aisle on these issues, I will work with people as long as they are about being fair, respectful, and valued in the General Assembly. And it happens across America. You have a lot of people, what we like to call, that steal your bill. They'll take your bill that you've written and put their name, change one word in it, and put their name on it. Give you an example, because I always think this one is funny. I had a bill called um, Georgia as a model employee. And that's recognizing companies in Georgia that are doing the right thing to keep people employed. And it could be for whatever reason. But making sure, especially when COVID came, that they were providing accessible and flexible work schedules, hybrid work schedules, making sure that if they had chronic illnesses, they're not being exposed, but being invited, and just other incentives of being Georgia as a model employee. One day we're sitting in chamber, a Republican goes down and he presents his bill, and it's called State as a Model Employee. Everything in the bill was my wording. And I started laughing, and then I pushed my button to say, excuse me, we have a policy. Does the gentleman yield? Yes, I yield. I said, explain how this legislation, same state as a model employee, is this coincides with game as a model employee. You know, like, come on, y'all think we stupid? You're going to sit up here and change the word and then pass it as your bill. But then rather than getting angry, I simply said, you know what? I appreciate all the work that I did on this bill and all of the work in my community that knows about this bill. And I'm so glad that you saw value in enough to use this bill as state as a model employee or game, Georgia as a model, whatever, and they took, and make it work for everybody. And what was he going to say? He stood there and I was like, next time, just ask me for permission before you use my stuff. So you create that space of respect. It's not everyone always doesn't want to play nice in this situation, but you have to you have to teach people how they treat you, how they talk to you, and then you stand on your character and your integrity. And so I work again across the aisle all the time. The person I sit next to is a Republican, a starch Republican, and we have some of the best knockdown, drag down fights and can hug afterwards. But there's some days where I will say, don't speak to me. He's a coroner, is his profession. So some days I look at him, I'm like, I think you're trying to get me as one of your clients and kill me with these crazy bills y'all trying to pass. You find where you can have common ground. Most people I found do want to have a quality of life that has housing and food and healthcare and transportation and jobs. Most of us want the same thing for our constituents. We just need them differently. And yes, we know the system has been stacked against us, so we don't always have the opportunity to get them in the way. But guess what? There's ways that we can work around it. And now is not the time to be afraid or to be hopeless. Now is the time to find creative opportunities. We were designed to create and be innovative and creative. It's not time to follow the funeral and follow the hearse. It's time to get in the birthing room and stop pushing out some things we've been waiting on.
Wow, that is impressive. And it speaks to, again, what you already had done before actually becoming a state representative. You were working with everybody. And I like that you did set out a litmus test. I need you to understand that we are working together. I need you to respect that, and I need you to value that. But if you can do that, then we can work together. And I think it's funny. We had a state representative from North Carolina who said the exact same thing. You have to teach people how to treat you, because I guess it can be a little dodgy at times, and you just have to, once they gain the respect and once you've shown them the type of respect that you command, I think it can become easier. But I'm glad to hear that you are working hard on collaboration and truly living that. That is something that I wholeheartedly believe as a human myself. We all kind of want the same things at the end of this day. Like everybody wants, to be able to work hard, to provide for their family, to make sure the children are doing better than them and have the space to grow, learn, and thrive. So we all want the same things. The cadence at which we do it, or the tactics at which we do it may be different, but if we just can figure out how we can can get to the end goal, I think we can all do better across the nation. So I'd like to thank you for that. Now, zooming out again, throughout the nation, we hear that we have a housing crisis. And you've brought up that you have 7 bills around housing, and that you are on the committee for urban affairs in Georgia, and you can do Atlanta specifically as well. What does that housing crisis look like? Just for example, when I talk to mountain communities, it's often we don't have a lot of space. And then when I speak to some of the Rust Belt communities, we have the space, we just don't have the effective development at the right cost. So what specific, if there is, does the housing crisis look like in Georgia or Atlanta?
Well, Jonathan, you hit it on the nail. It's a landmass problem. It's a housing affordability. It's a stock. It's the developers. And this is, yes, there are two Georgias. There's Atlanta, and then there's everything else, and then there's Georgia. But this is still a rural and an urban problem as much as a suburban problem. When people can't afford to live, or the taxes are going up, property taxes are going up, or the prices for homes. I was at a meeting last night, and a new senior development is going up, and the cost for the 1 bedroom for the senior is $1,800 a month. You tell me what senior can afford that. So what you're doing now is you're building houses not for the legacy seniors or those that are on fixed incomes, but on those that have resources for retirement. In our communities, unfortunately, that's not the case. So Georgia has not done well in restricting the amount of builders that are coming in and building all these high-end prices and housing and the apartments, and not making them affordable. And then you're going to set aside 30%. Give me a break. Go somewhere with that noise. No, we need real, accessible, affordable housing. You've got families that are doubling up. I've got people that are sleeping in cars. How does that affect the schools and children trying to learn when there is no stability? The weather is getting colder, and we're going to be on a government shutdown, and you're pulling the programs to help seniors and veterans with their utility bills. This is inhuman, and this is egregious, and we're not tolerating that. Now, people always ask, well, what can we do? We got to continue to keep speaking up and speaking out louder and saying, no, we're not taking this anymore. And it's not just, oh, we're not taking it anymore. There's got to be action, a corresponding action behind that. I love the fact that we had No King's Day, but guess what? We didn't see enough of us in those mixed audience to say that it is a problem across the board. We can no longer continue to talk to each other. You got to talk to your legislators, and then you've got to mobilize on the street to keep making people understand the power that they have is in their vote. And people say it doesn't matter. But guess what happens? And I'm going to ask, and I'm going to tell you wholeheartedly, when people didn't step up to the plate and vote, what they did was they tied the hands of the legislators that can help them. So I could have helped in other ways and combated against some of these egregious actions. But when you tied our hands, it makes them have a little bit more control, and we got to pull harder and fight harder. And then when the mass of people sit home because they say it doesn't matter, you're going in a losing battle. No, we're resilient people. We got to stand up. So housing and housing affordability ties directly into that. You cannot have a community that's stable. You can't have sick people being healed if there's no housing. You can't educate your children if there's no housing. The seniors cannot be without housing, and neither can veterans. Georgia legislators, there's a gap because there are legislators that are in that space of the General Assembly that own property. So, for example, in rural Georgia, if your cousin owns the bank, or you have a trailer park home that you've been renting, and I go and vote you out of office, what's going to happen if I get behind in my rent? So people get afraid, and it's a real fear here in Georgia, that people feel that if I vote out the people that are not doing their job, what's going to happen? What about if you vote the right people in and we change the system so you don't have to keep relying on the people that have been holding you hostage and oppressing you? So housing is real. It's a problem across the nation. We're looking at other ways to address houselessness, and that has to be done through legislation.
Wow. Yeah, I know that this is such a pertinent issue across the nation, and then Georgia specifically had. I like how you said it, and that's how I've always kind of looked at it. You have Atlanta, and then the rest of Georgia, and how those issues can be different, but it's still a housing crisis, just in different forms. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now you can say housing. That's not a cop out because I know that is the one of the biggest issues. But on my podcast, I always like to ask, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. So what is the biggest challenge across Georgia? But I will give you unlimited money, unlimited resources, unlimited time, unlimited people to work on the issue. So you can just snap your fingers and change it. What would that issue be?
It would be healthcare for me.
Hmm.
Expanding access to healthcare. No one should have to worry about what bill they can pay, having to get their medicine, having to take their child to the doctor. We should have universal health care. So if I had unlimited everything, I would make sure because when we have health, health is our wealth. So whether it's when I am healthy, then I can go to work. When I'm healthy, then I can feed my family, educate. My kids can learn when they're healthy. When I'm healthy, the stress is reduced. When I'm healthy, then I have enough resources that I need to make sure my community needs are met. So our health is our wealth. So for me, it's always going to be healthcare, providing accessible. You think of the number of hospitals that have closed across rural Georgia, people that are traveling 2 and 3 hours just to go see a doctor. Even myself, when I need to make an appointment for my doctor, they told me that the first available appointment that she has is in February of next year. Well, so you're forcing people to go to use emergency rooms as a safety net. But with this administration, some of our safety net hospitals are losing money. So what does that mean? It's healthcare. Health is our wealth. Without health, you have nothing.
Wow, that's so important. And you think about housing, it is everything. But
Mhm.
if you don't have your health, you legitimately can't do anything. You can't even exist when your body's in that place of fight or flight.
Mental health. Your
Mental
mental
health.
health. I mean, look at the number of where we are with mental health. There was some legislation that was passed, and they used some of the wording that I have in the current mental health, but it's still not enough money that we've put into the system, in the schools, in the colleges. And that's real. You talk about housing. When you look at the average cost of what it takes for dorms, if there are even dorms on college campuses anymore, because most students now are moving off campus, and look at the prices that they're having to pay. We're in a very dangerous situation where you're taking away the functionality of humanity. So if I had to start somewhere, I'm going to get you healthy first, because when you're healthy and your mind is right, then you can function.
No, I think that is so important. And with everything going on right now, I'm definitely just hoping and praying that some type of compromise can be made, and hopefully that trickles down to everyone that relies on certain types of healthcare to be taken care of. So now that was a tough one, but I appreciate you giving us the answer that not only is the most impactful, but also speaks to your journey as well. Now, let's kick it to 25 years from now. What are the community members of District 63 and of Georgia? What are they saying about their community and their state?
Well, 25 years from now, when I still am in Georgia riding through my community, they're going to say that not only did we have more jobs created, and these weren't jobs that were just industry or hospitality jobs, that we had some high level jobs where Representative Schofield helped train us to get these quality jobs, that she created programs that enticed us to make more than just a livable wage, that she made entrepreneurs in our district. They're going to look at the houses in our district and know in District 63 that people are homeowners. Everybody's a hoe in my area, a homeowner. And so they would look at that, Georgia's intent is to stop us from owning property. And we fight to make sure that people still have the right to get property. I have programs that I've been working on that go in and do financial planning and credit repair, because I believe that after 3 years in an apartment, you should be ready to buy your house. And 25 years from now, our space, because my district is right near the Atlanta airport. So for those that come in the airport, if you say, "Hey, Rep Kim," I'm gonna hear you, because that's always my airport. That's my space. That we have been expanded the global trade and the trade across the nation coming through my airport. And our kids are not only on the highest level of education, but they utilize their education to again become entrepreneurs, that become investors in their own community, that the quality of life in my district, in District 63, has gone from 78 for Black men to age 90. I'm sorry, the average age in my district is 62 for Black men, 70 for Black women. So those ages have increased, lifelong expectancy increased because of the fact that we've gotten healthier and we've made wiser decisions with what we're putting in the body. We're access to grocery stores, having healthy foods. We've got people that will be gardening, and we take responsibility. In 25 years, I want to empower people to take responsibility, to not just think that we should have, but we will have, and we must have, and we're going to have. In 25 years, this statue that I want to see on erected says, "Was Kim, keep it moving." And she moved those things along. That's what I want. I want the people to stand up and be empowered, and giving people the edge and the tools, the technology, and everything they need for the next 25 years is what I'm striving to do. Now, I'm not going to be there, y'all, for 25 more years. Now, I do believe that there are times where you move aside and you train up the next generation. I'm not the lifelong legislator, but I will always have my hands to make sure that nobody hurts my people and the people are empowered.
I love it. And I think that is a beautiful vision. And I know with your leadership, it will definitely be achieved. Keep it moving, Kim. I love
Moving.
that. I love that.
Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for all that you bring to the table. Thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for your commitment to community. Thank you for your service. I want to make sure that people have an opportunity not only to appreciate you and give you your flowers, but to also let you know you have an ally with me. And for those that would love to connect, would love to hear from you. My email is Kim.Schofield, Schofield, at house, house.ga.gov. That's Kim.Schofield at house.ga.gov. You can call my office at 404-656-0298. That's 404-656-0298. Listen, I love you. If you're going to run for office, run, but run with integrity, lead with character. I'm here to support you, and I'm always going to be standing up for you. Thank you.
So on behalf of everybody here at Gentry, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Your story is so powerful, impactful. What you're doing, your legacy of health advocacy and collaboration across party lines is so important, especially in this day and age. So I definitely, just from everybody here, I wanted to say thank you. And then for the viewers, thank you so much. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. Thank you so much.